But though I'm giving up my Daredevil identity, I'm not giving up my war against crime. With your help, your support, I'll change my emblem from DD to DA. Quote, Matt Murdock. What if, Volume 1, Issue 8, what if the world knew Daredevil was blind? The Watcher poses the question, what if the world knew Daredevil was blind? According to the Watcher, it's a query that a fearless Daredevil has frequently pondered. The thought has lingered in the back of his mind even years ago when he single-handedly and sightlessly battled a ring of auto thieves. In this vast cosmos, I alone can provide his answers, for I am the Watcher. Within minutes, it was finished, and the felons never realized they were defeated by a blind superhero. Daredevil remarks, "That's right, Lieutenant. You'll find the entire gang of car thieves here, all wrapped up for you. Although I'm sorry for their boss wasn't here." The Watcher adds, but even as the police arrived, their boss was watching. Meanwhile, Electro, the evil monarch of the electricity and former foe of the Amazing Spider-Man, returns to his hideout. Electro learns that the esteemed Fantastic Four are en route to Washington, D.C. to receive an award. Electro declares, "I've thought of a crime worthy of my prowess. While the Fantastic Four are out of town, I'll break into the headquarters and steal their scientific secrets and sell them to a hostile nation for a fortune." The Watcher narrates, later Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, returned to the law office of Nelson and Murdock, where his associate Foggy Nelson and secretary Karen Page were waiting. Karen Page says, "Matt, I wrote to an eye specialist in my hometown. I described your former blindness, and he has operated on cases like yours before. He thinks he can cure you, and you'll be able to see again." Matt Murdock replies, "It's very interesting, Karen. I'll think about it for a while." Karen persists, saying, "You don't sound very pleased." Matt Murdock apologizes. "Forgive me, Karen. It's just that I don't want to be disappointed." The Watcher says, alas, Karen Page could never understand Matt Murdock's resistance to submit to an operation that might return his sight. But in truth, the lawyer fears not the operation's failure so much as its success, for other senses have become super sensitive, sharpened many times above those of a normal man. The Watcher remarks that Daredevil's heightened senses provide him with an advantage over his criminal adversaries who, like everyone else, assume him to be just another costume acrobat. He fears that a successful eye operation might remove those super senses, thereby depriving the world of a unique being known simply as Daredevil. The Watcher narrates as Matt ponders this dilemma. He leaves the office to inspect the Baxter Building headquarters of the Fantastic Four. At the very moment, Electro declares, "It's simply a matter for me to raise myself to the top floors of the Baxter Building by using my power of electricity cables which run up inside these walls. Being the master of electricity, I can deactivate all of Mr. Fantastic's electrical alarms, therefore entering through the window with ease." Inside, Electro hears the buzz of the automatic receptionist, but Murdock's image doesn't appear in the screen, but the Daredevil. Electro recognizes Daredevil, the one who thwarted his auto theft gang. This lucky break for Electro occurs because Murdock's super sharp senses reacted to the danger emanating from the Baxter Building. However, the worst danger is yet to come. Electro boasts the electrical machines of Reed Richards are among the world's most powerful, and all controls at his fingertips. With his electrical powers combined with these machines, he believes they can accomplish anything, as Daredevil is about to discover. The surroundings echo with the charge indicating someone's presence. Daredevil realizes he's surrounded by a vibrating wall of electrical energy closing in on him, but about to electrocute him. It's with good reason that Daredevil is called a man without fear. Daredevil, realizing that Kane is a non-conductor, decides to hurl it at the source of Electro's power. Electro acknowledges Daredevil's skill, considering him a worthy opponent. The timely action short-circuits the current, but Electro sees it as merely prolonging his pleasure. Daredevil, relying on his super senses, evades Electro's bolts of electricity, recognizing that he can't dodge these blasts much longer. Determined, Daredevil knows he has to find the light switch to gain an advantage. Daredevil, relying on his fantastic sense of touch, thinks to himself, "I've just got it just in time." He plunged the room in darkness, recognizing that the odds are now on his side. However, he senses something else, a dumbbell of some sort. Realizing it could be a perfect weapon against an unseen enemy, Daredevil attempts to lift it. Unfortunately, the enormous weight has been bolted to the floor. Despite Daredevil's futile struggle to lift it, the effort inadvertently gives his foe the few seconds needed to act. stopped. Electro strikes Daredevil with electricity, overpowering even the super body of the man without fear. Daredevil, however, eventually revives from Electro's attack, utilizing his super sentence to defeat the villain. In a situation where a normal-sighted man would dismissively fail, Daredevil's unique abilities prove crucial. This brings us back to our original question. What if the world knew Daredevil was blind? Indeed, there is an answer not in your world, but on some other parallel world. Let us observe what occurs on one such Earth only moments from before Daredevil's temporary defeat by Electro. There he plunges the room into darkness, recognizing that the odds are now on his side. This world is virtually identical to your own with a very few differences, but one such variance is about to change the course of history and the life of the sightless crime fighter. Enter Spider-Man, who reflects. Good thing I was able to get away from Jameson's cuddly robot for a while. Otherwise, I'd never be able to check out the guy in the green hood I saw shooting up the wall of the Baxter building. Spider-Man reflects. Since it's not Halloween, there's only one creeper I know who wears a stupid suit like that. He questions when Electro took up a house sitting for the Fantastic Four. Electro notices the muffled voice and masked head of the intruder, and given the height and entry point to the window, deduces it could only be Spider-Man. Expressing frustration, Electro says, "Confound you, wall crawler. I could have taken Daredevil from behind." "What's wrong, Electro? Afraid to face your opponent? Either way, you have no chance against me," says Daredevil. "And when I've destroyed you, I'll finish Spider-Man, as I should have done months ago," says Electro. This time when Electro strikes, Daredevil is not unprepared. Crack, Daredevil thinks to himself, that sound of crackling energy, that sudden flare of heat I have to make to move fast, make myself a difficult target if I want to stay alive. Electro, expressing disbelief, says, "No, it's not possible. Even without striking you, those bolts were bright enough to blind you." Spider-Man interjects, "But Electro, didn't you ever learn it's not good grammar to end a sentence where the conjunctions?" Daredevil and Spider-Man have Electro surrounded, but Electro employs his electricity to scatter them. Daredevil says, "Maybe not, Electro. That's why I'm here, to give the web slinger a helping hand, or should I say a fist?" Electro responds, "But not good enough against a foe with electricity-charged fists. You shouldn't have." Spider-Man retorts, "You shouldn't have done that, Sparkles. You see, I'm getting to like the masked man, and when your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man likes somebody, he doesn't like seeing them zapped, especially by someone Joker's electrical boast. Guess what I'm trying to say, Electro?" The fight continues as Spider-Man sprays his web towards Electro. Electro zaps the web, thwarting Daredevil's attempt to jump on top of him. Quickly reacting, Electro throws another electrical bolt. As Electro's searing energy bolt strikes its targets, the overhead sprinkler system is activated. "Can't use my powers. Confound it. I've accidentally short-circuited myself." Spider-Man says, "Thanks, Electro. I couldn't have done it without a little help. Now, before you can dry yourself off and get your battery charged, I'll just put you under wraps till New York's finest show." Electro reflects, "This time is almost worth the suffering, defeat, considering the priceless secret I learned today. No man could have not been blinded by the brightness of the electrical bolt without being affected, unless he never saw that light." Electro figures out Daredevil is blind. Daredevil says, "Get serious, Electro. The very idea of a blind superhero is absurd." Electro responds, "We shall see how absurd it is after a little test. Tell me, Daredevil, what color is my costume?" Spider-Man says, "What's wrong, partner? Why don't you answer this crud?" He continues saying, "Unless what he says is true." Electro, "You see, Spider-Man, Daredevil cannot answer because it's absolutely true. You're blind." After the battle between Spider-Man and Daredevil versus Electro, Daredevil will not pretend anymore and says he is not blind. Daredevil goes on to tell a story about his origin, how a radioactive canister made Daredevil blind but heightened his senses, as Spider-Man has said a radioactive spider bit him and gave him his superpowers. Daredevil does, in fact, redesign his costume, not only to make it more in keeping with the devil in his name, but also in an attempt to think of other matters than the inevitable media explosion. Man, what do you get a load of this? In a special press conference from State Prison, former electric lineman Max Dillon, alias Electro, revealed that the masked crime fighter known as Daredevil is as blind as a bat. And I tell you that this Daredevil vigilante taking the law in his own hands constitute a black mark against all handicapped people. So unusual is the concept of a blind superhero. That news sweeps across the country, and yet it is not so far away that the revelation will have its greatest effect. Picture from his perch, he casts his ambitious gazes across the Hudson to the lights of Manhattan. The owl says, once I have accomplished something no other criminal has accomplished, the underworld will not dare dispute my leadership, but it must be something so important, so significant that it'll be worthy of my genius. Yes, it must be something that will force every criminal to acknowledge the owl as the overlord of crime. The watcher says, yet the owl's planning has to wait as he suddenly finds himself in need of attorney on Earth. As our own, the owl selects a name at random from New York's telephone directory, that of Matt Murdock. The owl thinks to himself, so the man is to be a lawyer, as blind is he unwilling. He has given me the most perfect idea. The owl now knows that Daredevil is blind and has deduced that Daredevil's other senses must be heightened. Later in the office of Nelson and Murdock, where the owl had planned to force Matt Murdock to become his lawyer, Daredevil comes crashing through the window. Daredevil quickly knocks the two henchmen into each other while the owl exclaims, "Look out, you clumsy fools." However, the owl has come prepared. In my profession, I've learned to always be ready for the unexpected, which among other things amplifies the sound of my own hooting and emits all the manner of the conflicting odors. Hoot, 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 hoot. All my senses are being thrown off like being in a nightmare. Can't keep my balance. He's up for grabs now, man. Bruise him, but don't kill him. With such a resounding from the room, it's not surprising that the door suddenly opens. A fight. It's Daredevil. Was that Karen's voice? Can't tell. Hooting so deafening, brain being pounded senselessly. You're killing Daredevil. No, don't touch me. You seem to have concern for Daredevil, so perhaps we can persuade him to surrender before he's damaged any further. It is Karen. I've managed to isolate the scent of her perfume from the owl's many smells. Karen, get out of here. Now if I can get away from these thugs and get my bearing long enough to remember where that burglar alarm is. With a master throw, the Billy Club's finest marks. Bullseye. He set off the alarm. In a few minutes, this place will be overrun by security guards, and since no one yet has any solid evidence against me, we better best be off. We'll get Daredevil some other time. As for the machine, leave it. I have others. Got to shut off this confounded machine. I'm fine, Matt. There, are you all right, Karen? Before I go deaf as well as blind. How's that again? You called me? It wasn't too hard to figure out both Daredevil and Matt being blind with similar voices. The coincidence of you being in Matt's office and you're calling me Karen. Foggy Nelson informs the police that everything is now under control and they can leave. However, he also witnesses Daredevil kissing Karen Page, realizing he feels out of his league as she is in love with a superhero. Karen Page tells Matt Murdock about a doctor called Van Eek, an eye specialist from Boston, who still believes he can help him. Matt Murdock responds, "It would be wonderful to have my sight back, Karen. Considering the circumstances of the world, knowing that Daredevil is blind, he sees it as a potential opportunity to fix his eyesight and perhaps lose his superpowers." Foggy Nelson is unaware of Matt Murdock and Karen Page's whereabouts. Matt Murdock confides in Karen, expressing his fear that an eye operation might strip him of all Daredevil's super senses. Karen Page responds, "May I remind you, Mr. Murdock, that your powers were almost useless against the owl. It won't be long before every other criminal in New York takes advantage of your weakness. Let's go see Dr. Van Eek." The watcher notes that unable to find fault in Cross's logic, Matt Murdock finally agrees to visit the doctor. However, Dr. Van Eek has left the United States and now resides in Lynchberg. Presently, Murdock and Karen are descending over a small medieval-style European principality. Among their fellow passengers is Murdock's former classmate and the ruler of Lynchberg, a person who believes that Duke Claus Kruger is a tyrant, shoots bullets at him, but they prove to be useless as he is bulletproof. In retaliation, Duke Claus Kruger hits the individual to the ground. The Duke was wearing a bulletproof vet, yet Matt Murdock senses an atmosphere charged with sheer naked hatred for Kruger. People despise him. After being driven to Duke's own heavily armored automobile and escorted to a closely guarded room, the Duke states, "I'll leave you with Dr. Van Eek now. Report to me tomorrow." Dr. Van Eek addresses Matt, saying, "So you are Matt Murdock. I heard of you." Matt Murdock asked the doctor about the situation in Lynchberg, questioning what everyone is afraid of and why the doctor is there. In sheer fear, the doctor responds, "No, no, do not talk of such matters. Even the walls have ears." Despite the doctor's reluctance, Matt's super sharp hearing catches snatches of speech from other parts of the building, revealing sentiments like, "We must revolt, be brave, wait for the signal," and it's deaf to to defy the Duke. His spies are everywhere. As the doctor briefly turns away, Matt tells Karen, I'm afraid the operation will have to wait until tomorrow. Karen, I've got to learn what power the Duke holds over the people and how he's managed to enslave them. Karen pleads, no, Matt, please. We've come this far. Don't jeopardize getting back your sight. Remember, the news of Daredevil's blindness has spread all over the world, even here. Matt responds, guess you win again, Karen. Thus, Dr. Van Eyck performs his operation with a hopeful Matt Murdock and Karen Page waiting and listening. In a whispered tone, Dr. Van Eyck cautions, even if the operation is a success, the Duke will make you a prisoner, as I am. But if you could somehow get by Duke's robot guards, notify the embassy, there might be a chance for all of us. Suddenly, Kruger's inhuman guards slam open the door, stating, our hidden microphones have picked up your treasonous remark. You must be punished. Doctor, seize him. The guards instruct Matt Murdock and Karen Page to remain there, saying, sightless one, your fate will be decided later. Hearing the mechanical guards taking Dr. Van Eyck out to the street, Daredevil thinks, I have no other choice. Besides, I don't seem to have lost my radar or other super senses. I'll keep the bandages underneath my mask and try to move fast before anyone has a chance to throw off my powers. As the revolt is already underway in the streets, Daredevil reaches Kruger's castle. The guards are aware that Daredevil is blind, but he quickly incapacitates one of them with his billy club and as confidently declares, here's the sound of explosions that signal your people destroying your robot army. I've won and your tyranny is finished. Kruger, however, retorts, not yet. I still have a card. Kruger declares within a second a radioactive cobalt cloud will sweep over the earth. Too late. Nothing you can do to stop it. All mankind shall die with me. So in defeat, I have won. It requires but a look into that room for Karen Page to have her answer. Oh my God, he'll be killed. I mustn't be too late. I mustn't. Daredevil, Dr. Van Eyck, he's trying to shut down the atomic pile. Then I'll have to finish off Dookie fast. And I hope I can get to the pile before Van Eyck takes in too much radiation. Lord knows, after what he did for me, I can't let the doctor die. I won't. Sorry for the shove, doctor, but the Yanks have arrived and I are taking over. Now, if I remember my high school physics, I've got to disconnect the rods. Need just a few more seconds. The radiation, the pain, so intense. It's over. There's no more danger of this thing going. But I feel weird all over, like something's changing inside me. Doctor, please get me a Geiger counter. Yes, my friend, at once. Strangely, the Geiger counter shows that Daredevil is not radioactive. You are not contaminated, Mr. Murdock. What did you call me? My previous deduction is confirmed by your affection towards Miss Page. But don't worry, your secret will be safe with me. Later in the office, no longer watched by robot guards, Matt Murdock states, Mr. Murdock, I have removed the bandages. Matt Murdock responds, it's still dark, doctor. The doctor replies, no, I'm beginning to perceive a light. And now an image is gradually focusing in on a beautiful image. Karen joyfully exclaims, oh, Matt, you can see. As Murdock touches her, he no longer whiffs the fragrance of her perfume and no longer feels her racing heartbeat against his chest. He realizes they're gone, doctor. All my super heightened senses. However, he reflects on having them all when he fought Kruger and when he shut down the atomic pile. The doctor explains, it must have been the pile that has robbed you of your ultra senses. Originally, it was a powerful dose of radiation that gave you your powers, and now another dose has taken them away. Ironic and unfortunate, is it not, that in saving the world from a catastrophe, you also robbed it of a great champion. Upon arriving back in the States, the Owl immediately abducts Matt to involve him in his version of a courtroom trial against Judge Lewis, who had previously imprisoned him. Called out to find his witness, Daredevil appears and Daredevil's personalis states, I thought Murdock would never give me a signal. I was beginning to be impatient there, and now that I've made my attorney friend comfortable in a safe place outside, I'm here to give my testimony with the fun-filled fist of everybody's favorite man without fear. A henchman remarks, is that the blind crime buster? But I thought that creep hung up his mask. Daredevil quickly disposes of the henchman and the Owl activates his loud hooting machine, saying, you stupid, arrogant fool, you dare come to roast where there are devices capable of throwing off your senses. Unaware that the Daredevil has lost all his heightened senses and now is fighting as an ordinary human, the Owl and the henchman witness Daredevil knocking out another henchman with a powerful fist. Another two henchmen come for Daredevil, but he quickly ducks. However, a third henchman catches Daredevil off guard by grabbing him from behind with a billy club. Without his radar, Daredevil is at a disadvantage. The Owl thinks to himself, something is wrong here. Daredevil is not affected by my machine and seems not to be even using his super senses. Still fights efficiently and fearlessly. In the event that those bunglers of mine don't stop him, I best ensure my ace in the hole. As the Owl slips silently from the room, he observed Daredevil tearing himself free of his opponents. Daredevil thinks to himself, with my super senses, I could finish up these overs in half the time, but I'm still in top shape and my vision is perfect. So maybe Daredevil can continue his career after all, making a move akin to a red-suited Captain America. Daredevil spots another thug and punches him in the face. Daredevil sets out on search for the Owl. Relying on his normal human senses, Daredevil makes his way through the dark corridor until, come in, you fumbling fool, I've been expecting you. In fact, as you can see, I've arranged a most interesting welcome for you. A gigantic robot bird, armored and deadly. No wonder the Owl wanted to lure me here. Originally, I merely wanted to revenge on the Judge Lewis for sending me to jail, but your death will provide me with still a greater triumph. Once I bring my electronic owl to life, now my pet shall seek you out while you're going no place, Owl. Not as long as you make such a nice fat target for my billy club. And since this mechanical stooge is wrecking everything in its way, we'll just have to get out of the way. No, no. If you don't have enough to worry about now the volcano's erupting, my bird is our only means of escape, but nobody escapes till we've picked up Judge Lewis. Will be a heck of a lot easier without you awake to give static. But listen too, that takes care of the Owl. Now if I only find the Judge before the whole Blam Island goes up in flames, and I'm in luck, he's right in the robot's path now to use my super delicate sense of balance to guide the all the excitement I must have forgotten. Hop aboard, Judge. With a little more luck and a full tank of gas, the bird just might get us back to the mainland, but its flight is so erratic we'll never make it. Never. Yet the masked man is determined to using his normal sense of balance to maintain at least a part of control until the robot Owl at least dips towards the ground of Long Island, the impact jarring back to consciousness the fear-stricken Owl. Daredevil, listen to me. There's a high-potency bomb concealed in this robot. It could explode in any minute. Wish I could have reached the Owl too, but there just wasn't time. With my super hearing, I could have heard the bombs ticking and saved us both. Days pass while Matt Murdock's thoughts are weighing there. Certain that he has made the correct decision, he calls a press conference. As you already know, I've been blind during most of my crime-fighting career, and I've relied on my radar and other senses to compensate it. But now things have changed. Neither am I blind anymore, nor do I have those super senses. Man, Mrs. Jameson, listen to that hero talk. Since Daredevil no longer really exists as he once was, and since more and more people are figuring out his true identity, there's no reason for me to wear this mask anymore from now on. I'm simply Matthew Murdock, attorney at law. The crowd gasps in amazement while Murdock continues. But though I'm giving up my Daredevil identity, I have not given up my war against crime. With your help, your support, I'll change my emblem from DD to DA. Yes, I'm announcing my candidacy for district attorney. Oh, Matt, darling, how long I've waited to hear you say that. I don't think I could stand the strain of being a superhero wife. Foggy Nelson loses again, both Karen, and my aspirations I might have for being DA myself. But I'm in the corner from now on, and I wish them every success. Bypass a wedding, a landslide election, and hey, Hornhead, how's your life treating you? Couldn't be better, Spidey, but I'm not a superhero anymore, remember? Ha, you'll always be a superhero in my book. Thus, come to what culture would call a happy ending. But suppose Matt Murdock had not given his Daredevil career. What if he continued being Daredevil without extra sentences? Indeed, what if? Next issue, What If, Volume 1, Issue 9. What if the Avenger had been formed during the 1950s?